What's up, guys? I was playing Diablo 4 in the preseason, and I played Rogue, and was having a lot of fun doing that. However, with the new Season 1 changes, I wanted to try a different class, and a lot of the classes seemed a little busted or some of them unplayable, right? Like, I wanted to play Barbarian, but doesn't really seem that fun to play Barbarian right now. I might have also wanted to try Sorcerer, but I've been seeing some comment saying the same thing about that. Necromancer, it seems like minion builds aren't particularly strong, and if I was gonna play a Necromancer, I'd play that. If not, I'd just play like a rogue with a bow or something like that, or a crossbow. So I decided while I'm waiting for these changes that were talked about in the fireside chats by Blizzard, might as well give Path of Exile a try, because I really did want to play Diablo 4 more. I just wanted to do something else, and it seemed like I would probably have more fun if I just waited for the patch and just did something else in the meantime. So I was like, you know what? Let me just give PoE a chance. I've been wanting to try it for a while now. I've tried in the past. I got to maybe the middle of Act 2 before putting it down for one reason or another. Usually not because I didn't like the game. It was just something else came up, like Elden Ring came out or something like that, right? So I tried Path of Exile. And I gotta say, I finished the campaign. I played it about 30 hours this week, and it was a blast, and I wanted to talk about that a little bit. So I'm gonna pop in the game really quick. So this is my first character in Path of Exile. Or more accurately, I should say this is my first character that I've completed the campaign with. Like I said, in my previous attempt, I've only got to Act 2. This one, I've finished all 10 acts. Which was really fun. I enjoyed it a lot. I purposely didn't want to follow a build guide for my first one. I wanted to see what it was like, just kind of winging it and coming up with like something on your own. And my only real goal with this build was to finish the campaign, because I know that a new league is coming out soon. And for that, I will follow a guide, because I want to get a little bit further. But for this one, I'm satisfied with where I've gotten to. I did try to do my first map with this build, and I died immediately. I couldn't clear anything, and it was hilarious. I don't know if that has to do with like whatever modifier I had on my first map, but I just did the one that I got from a quest. I wish I could see like what I had done before or something. That would have been cool. But yeah, so tried my first map, got completely crushed, laughed it off, was like, yeah, that's about what I expected for what I ended up with, right? But I'll just go ahead and like talk about the build that I landed on, just so you can see like what kind of experience what I was going through in my playthrough. So I basically built my entire build around like this first ability that I got, or this first AoE ability that I saw I was able to grab, which is this one, which was Ground Slam. And I basically played the whole game using almost only this ability. The only other abilities that I used were like Heavy Strike, that I stuck like Multi-Strike on because I wanted to bonk things really quickly. And like Molten Shell for a little bit of defensive utility, and like Leap so I can travel around a little faster, get myself out of situations. And I have this one aura, Pride. I just wanted to do more physical damage, and so this seemed like a really solid option for me. And overall, I'd say that it worked pretty well. There were certainly parts of the game where I felt like I was not doing enough damage. There were definitely parts of the game where I felt that I was way too squishy. But it was interesting, like encountering those different walls and like being able to kind of do something about it. That wasn't just like, oh, go back and like grind other levels. There were reasons why I was like getting blown up, and learning what those reasons are and kind of fixing them and seeing like the immediate improvement was like super awesome. And so the first thing that came to mind, like as a new player to this game, in I played a decent amount of Diablo 3. I've played maybe, I want to say 4 or 5 of the seasons that they've had in total over the course of it. I know there's been like 20 something of them, right? But I played it super casually, had fun. I played it on release, and then didn't really revisit it again until they did like the Loot 2.0 thing. And then I played it for a few seasons after that. Reaper of Souls was cool. I wish they had did another expansion, but that's a whole nother topic. So, for resistances, in Diablo, didn't really have to care about that during the campaign at all. Whether it was in Diablo 3 or Diablo 4, like resistance and just kind of like dying wasn't really a thing. While in Path of Exile, not having these resistances capped at 75, which I just finished I just finished Act 10, right? So I just got hit with like the second resistance debuff, and I haven't gotten any additional gear since clearing Act 10. So that's why I'm not capped right now. But not having them at 75% made a tremendous difference in my survivability, right? Like, I was ignoring resistances for the most part. Then I started getting one shot by like everything. I was like, okay, what is going on? So I was watching a couple Path of Exile videos, and topic of resistances came up, and I realized how important they actually were. And it's true. I was getting completely exploded without resistances, and as soon as I had them, everything was fine, and I could like literally just run through maps, like, no, not maps, but like acts way faster and safely versus what I was doing before. So what I ended up doing with this build is I mostly just kind of like run around and like bonk stuff with ground slam, and I stacked like a bunch of bleed and like attack speed so I can like sit here and like slam super quick and like put bleed on things, and then just kind of like run away and let them bleed out and take damage. I need more accuracy. As you can see, sometimes I don't hit these guys very often. So yeah, I guess I'll talk about like what gems I ended up using a little bit. Or, you know what? For other people who have never tried Path of Exile, and since I just flashed it on the screen, we can go ahead and talk about it. This, although intimidating on first glance, is not that crazy, right? I say that as someone who played Final Fantasy X, and they have the sphere grid and in that game, and you will basically traverse the entire sphere grid on one character. That is not happening in this game as far as I can tell, right? I believe the level cap is level 100, and as you can see, I'm level, what level am I? 67, I want to say? 69. I'm level 69. Nice. But I'm nowhere near, like, hitting anywhere near as much of these nodes. I have, like, what, like, maybe somewhere between 5 and 10% of these nodes or something like that. It's pretty intimidating on first open, but at the end of the day, like, it wasn't too crazy, right? So my thought process while playing through the game was, all right, I got ground slam, right? What gems can I get that support ground slam? So one of the first ones I came across was a chance to bleed. So I was like, oh, okay, I can give my ground slam a chance to bleed things so that I can hit them with the slam and then put a bleed on them and damage them over time, right? Didn't really know how bleed works in this game when I decided to do that. I didn't realize that you deal a whole lot more damage with bleed if they're like moving around. So my initial plan was like, oh, I would just like stand in place and like just bonk repeatedly and just keep stacking bleed on them and hitting them with a dot and this, and then they'll just slowly die. But really what it turned into was like, oh, I would hit them and just like move and kite them around a little bit. So I'd like hit them and then move, and then they'd follow me and they'd bleed and take extra damage. And that's kind of how that ended up. So I was like, okay, chance to bleed. Cool. That makes my ground slam cause bleed. I like that idea. I put melee physical damage support because I'm doing physical damage. I want to keep doing physical damage. As far as I can tell, bleed is considered physical damage. I could be completely wrong about that. It might just be like ailment or damage over time and not physical, but I'm not entirely sure. I want to say yes because it has attack and physical in the gem, but I don't 100% know that. I just assume that it does, right? And main support, I figured things that are maimed are going to take more damage from physical damage, and that's what I'm like building around. I'm not building around elements or anything like that. Literally just hit them with rocks and cause them to bleed and kite them around like a maniac and just kill them like that, right? And this is just my main strategy. This is what I landed on after like just kind of like playing the game slowly over time. And so when it came to the tech tree or the skill tree or whatever you want to call it, I just look for things that supported like what I wanted to do, right? So I like, oh, look at these first 3 nodes and melee damage. I like melee damage and I like being alive. So I started going down that path. And I started to look for things that made sense for what I was trying to do. I knew that I wanted to use 2-handed weapons. And so I looked for the nodes that gave me increased damage with 2-handed weapons, which eventually led towards like, oh, I specifically want to do 2-handed axes. So I started to take abilities that improve like my damage specifically with axes. So I focus on things that gave me improvements to 2-handed things, improvements to axes. I also went down the route of grabbing nodes that improve bleed because I considered bleed to be a big part of my build. So I just started to take the nodes that made sense to me for what I was trying to do, right? I wasn't trying to do everything. I knew that my plan is to bonk and bleed, and all the nodes that I looked for on this map kind of facilitated that, right? Except for like, well, I mean, even this one, right? I took accuracy over this one because I noticed that I was just missing a lot and I wanted to hit things more often. And so I took some accuracy here and that kind of worked out. And so I would just keep investing in things that worked on ground slam and bleed. Axes, 2-handed. I have leech mastery over here because I realized that, hey, it would be nice that if I hit them, I would recover because like sometimes I'm just like sitting here with like 4 million attack speed and like cranking out these slams and I don't want to have to move because my HP is getting low or because I'm like running out of potions or anything like that. I want to just keep hitting them and keep recovering so that I don't have to move. And ideally I don't, or if I'm like sitting here bonking an enemy who like doesn't want to move over and over with heavy strike, I don't want to move either. If he doesn't want to move, I don't want to move. Unfortunately, it didn't work out like that most of the time. I had to move almost all the time just because it seems like that's how this game works, right? I guess a big difference between this game and Diablo that I saw was that doing something like this, right? Just kind of like stutter stepping like you would in like an RTS or something like that, or like League of Legends or a MOBA or any other MOBA. Like this is super effective because enemies attack you, but they like turn to attack you. They attack like where you are, and you can actually just dodge them if you're moving, right? I was laughing because I was watching a Zizaran video, and he would just showcase this by running around like a boss like this, and the boss would just literally never hit him. He wasn't hitting them either, to be fair, but they couldn't hit him either because he was just strafing around them in a circle, and it's very effective, and it's something that seems to be just a core part of the game that you can avoid damage. I was watching Asmongold videos about Diablo 4, and he talked about PoE in it, and he was talking about like how Diablo 4 has a lot of unavoidable damage. And after playing through Path of Exile, I now understand what he means, right? You can definitely outskill a lot of the stuff in the game. And in fact, there were many times where I'd like walk into a situation, get one shot and be like, okay, that was really stupid of me. I shouldn't have just like leaped into like 40 million mobs. And so I'd like respawn and come approach the situation, and then I like bonk and move back, and just kind of like dodge projectiles while I'm doing it, and I was able to like clear that content. There was a point where I wasn't able to do that anymore because like a single touch would kill me, and I just wasn't good enough to like dodge all that, and that's where like resistances came in, and that's where I learned about resistances. But it was an eye-opening experience for me, coming and trying this game and comparing it to like Diablo. That being said, I don't hate Diablo. I think Diablo is a great game. I also don't hate Path of Exile. I think that this was a really fun experience, and I'm looking forward to the next league that's coming out, I believe, in a couple weeks, because I would like to try it again on another build. Probably try either like a bow build or like a caster build, something that's like very different from what I was doing, right? Which is just be like, oh, big meaty dude, come here and bonk things until they're dead and move on, and like basically play the whole campaign this way. And it sounds like it'd be boring to like just come in here and do the same thing for the whole campaign. And at times I wish I did like have more skills, but I was so heavily invested in what I was trying to do that I didn't really want to deviate from that, because I was afraid that I just wouldn't do any damage anymore and I wouldn't be able to kill anything. So I probably should have tried to do that a bit more, just to add some variety into my gameplay. But we'll see where that goes when I follow a guide for the next league. So yeah, I'm looking forward to see what changes or what the changes that come out of the fireside chats from the Blizzard developers for Diablo. Like to see how that impacts the game and how it changes my perspective of how that works. But I've also gained a newfound appreciation for Path of Exile, and I want to continue to try this game and play other league, or play like the next league, try other classes, try like see what a real build feels like, because I feel like this is, although it got me through the game, I feel like it could be way more based, and it's just not because of like my ignorance of the game, right? And I think that that's a good thing. I think that someone who doesn't know what they're doing should be able to like do a playthrough, learn a bunch of stuff, and apply that to their next playthrough of the game and see like significantly different results, right? Like I'd be really disappointed if like this was like the best build in the game and I came up with it like completely like on the fly and not even really trying or anything like that. And I know that that's not what happened. I know that this is by far not the best thing that's around, and that actually makes me happy. So yeah, that was my experience between Diablo 4 and Path of Exile. Let me know how you guys like this format, if you think I should talk about things like this again in the future. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks.